Let's talk about
mewing.
Mewing.
What is mewing, and does it really give you a better jawline?
mewing, an exercise that involves consistently placing your tongue on the roof of your mouth, is widely praised for its ability to improve the appearance of your lower third and overall facial features. The notion of achieving such results without the need for expensive and risky orthodontic surgery may seem too good to be true. Why would anyone choose to undergo a costly procedure and endure potential hazards when mewing can yield the same outcome conveniently within the confines of their own home? Sounds promising, right? But is it backed by science?
Off, and some even lost teeth. A dentist in Tennessee invented the Anterior Growth Guidance Appliance, or AGA for short, and he's claimed it can cure problems by expanding, or his word, remodeling the jaw.
Surgeons told her she needed double jaw surgery to move both her upper and lower jaw forward. But then she heard about a device on Facebook called an Anterior Growth Guidance Appliance, or AGA, a retainer-like appliance promoted as something that could expand the upper jaw without surgery. But as the months went by, she says, her front teeth flared outward. Her dentist later put on braces she said were part of the treatment, but Krigulia says her teeth were loose and painful. So finally, she went to an orthodontist for a second opinion.
He lifted my lip up and just immediately said it was the worst thing he'd ever seen. And he was like, you weren't growing the jaw and you have a really serious problem. You know, the teeth are completely out of bone and the bone is gone.
He went looking for any studies that supported the use of the AGA device.
There was none. None in the peer-reviewed literature. Zero.
Warner with CBS News. I wanted to talk with you about your AGA device treatment.
Okay, talk to you.
How can you feel comfortable using the device on patients when you have no proof, no studies that it works? Dr. Galella?
Those scans and asked 8 experts from dental specialties and schools nationwide, including Harvard and Columbia, to review them. Most said that expanding an adult's jawbone without surgery is physiologically impossible, and all said they saw no evidence that the AGA worked.
Mike Mew asserts that the genetic factor does not solely determine facial structure, as it can be modified by environmental factors and upbringing. According to Mike Mew, maintaining a proper posture and oral environment can influence the development of facial structure. This involves keeping the mouth closed with a lip seal, positioning the tongue on the roof of the mouth, consuming hard food, breathing through the nose, and engaging in other exercises. To access further information on this subject, you can visit the Orthotropics YouTube channel. The concept of orthotropics was introduced by John Mew, Mike Mew's father, and it represents a distinct approach to treating malocclusion compared to traditional orthodontic. While traditional orthodontic relies on fixed appliances and surgical procedures, Orthotropics utilizes removable appliances such as BioBlock and emphasizes oral posture. Orthotropics asserts that fixed appliances and surgical methods used in orthodontic can have detrimental effects on facial structure, resulting in a lengthened, narrowed, and unappealing appearance. Conversely, Mike Mew argues that orthodontic merely provides a band-aid solution to the issue, while Orthotropics addresses the root cause and aids in its resolution.
Orthodontics means straight or correct teeth, whereas orthotropics means straight or correct growth. Well, one uses appliances to help you, the other doesn't use appliances to help you. You know, effectively you could achieve the same results just with mewing.
Can mewing exercises alter the facial structure and change the facial bones to make changes in a face? The simple answer is no. It is highly unlikely for individuals who are teenagers or adults to alter their facial structure through mewing. However, if you are a child, these exercises can potentially have an impact on your facial structure since you are still in the process of growing, and your skull sutures have not yet fused.
Okay, but how can you prove that your method works?
Well, the problem with proof in this case is that my treatment is based on posture, the position of the tongue, the lips, and the jaw. Now, in science, you need to be able to measure things accurately so that you compare them scientifically.
Dr. Mike Mew and Dr. John Mew in their own words suggest that there is no proper scientific evidence regarding the effectiveness of mewing.
Half, maybe 1 millimeter a year. And that's a year where you've actually been mewing really, really well.
Although Mike Mew suggests that mewing can have an impact on adults, His statement indicates that the gain may be limited to 1 mm per year. Therefore, achieving 10 mm would require a decade of consistent mewing. It's vital to note that Mike Mew's recommendation lacks scientific evidence. In contrast, Bimax results have multiple instances of scientific support, proving effective in a shorter period. By opting for Bimax, one can attain the same results as 10 years of mewing in just 2 to 3 hours. Mewing, in simple terms, does not have the ability to modify or alter your facial bones if you are a teenager or an adult. The idea of moving facial bones with your tongue sounds appealing, but it is simply not possible. Growing skeletal bone through mewing or using jaw-hacking appliances like AGGA or HomeBlock is an impossible. These appliances actually exert more force than your tongue. The only movement that can occur is dental movement, which is completely different from skeletal movement in late teens or adulthood. Non-surgical methods can only facilitate dental movement. This process requires a slow and gentle movement of tooth roots while the alveolar bone remodels around the teeth. This is why treatments like braces and Invisalign typically take at least a year or more. The MSE appliance, which is a skeletally anchored appliance, is commonly utilized to correct cross-bites or narrow palates by expanding the palate. However, if used without surgical intervention, it has a high failure rate. Additionally, the forces produced by the MSE are much greater than those generated by the tongue, yet some individuals still believe they can expand their palate through mewing. There is insufficient evidence to support the idea that orthotropics or mewing, which involves maintaining proper oral posture and environment, can actually impact the facial structure of individuals, whether they are children or adults. This lack of evidence led to Mike Mew's expulsion from the British Orthodontic Society.
Dr. Golela's attorney told us his client wouldn't sit for an interview, citing the pending lawsuits, but told us the device, now called the osteorestoration appliance, when properly used is safe and can achieve beneficial results for the patient, that it has been used by well over 10,000 patients, and Dr. Golela had had no complaints prior to the lawsuits. Yet in one of those lawsuits, Dr. Golela admitted he was not aware of any peer-reviewed studies or clinical trials demonstrating the AGA was successful when used on adults whose jaws have finished growing.
Patient images displayed on Orthotropics websites typically depict young individuals who have undergone treatment using a device called BioBlock, which is similar to MSE. It is important to note that these patients appear to have average or below average looks.
Studies. And all they tend to show is that when people are young, there's a greater chance of skeletal movement and expansion, and when they're old there's a greater chance of dental movement and expansion. And also that if you go really quite slowly, there's more of a chance of dental movement, and if you go really very fast.
But growth is quite slow, even in a youngster. It will take 2 or 3 years, but in an adult it is going to take longer.
From my perspective, there is a belief that mewing could potentially modify the facial bones of a child, but there is currently no concrete evidence to support this claim. The official website of Orthotropics has a few case studies, but they all involve the use of appliances and mewing exercises, not just mewing alone. According to the website, Orthotropics is a theory rather than a treatment, and it remains unproven to this day. There is no evidence to suggest that keeping your tongue on the roof of your mouth can move or grow your facial bones. It is important to note that Orthotropics is not a substitute for orthodontic or surgery, and combining these treatments can lead to superior results in terms of facial aesthetics. As stated on the website, mewing alone will not produce any noticeable results. Dr. Mike Mew and Dr. John Mew discuss the orthotropic method on their channel, focusing on a non-surgical approach to correcting malocclusions and improving facial structure. They are dedicated to understanding the environmental factors that contribute to malocclusions, rather than attributing them solely to genetics. As mewing gained popularity, many people began to view it as a cost-free, non-surgical method to achieve a desirable appearance. However, according to Dr. Mike Mew, mewing should be seen as a means of maintaining proper posture and preventing issues, rather than a treatment. It is concerning to observe that many individuals between the ages of 14 and 20 believe that mewing alone can enhance their facial attractiveness. They fail to recognize that patients treated by Dr. Mike Mew during childhood, including Dr. Mike Mew himself, do not possess conventionally attractive features. Therefore, it is unrealistic to expect that mewing during their teenage years will transform them into models. The concept of mewing has become distorted by various misconceptions within the manosphere, a community focused on men's self-improvement. These misconceptions are often passed on from one self-proclaimed expert to another, leading to a diluted understanding of the true meaning of mewing. Many believe that mewing can horizontally and vertically expand the jaw, enhance cheekbones, and provide other benefits. However, this is not the correct understanding of how mewing actually works. According to Mike Mew, the creator of the mewing technique, it involves achieving an upward and forward growth pattern, resulting in a wider palate, jaw, and fuller cheekbones. This in turn enhances facial attractiveness. Nevertheless, this raises several questions. For instance, what if a face is already forward grown but still considered unattractive? How does mewing affect such a scenario, considering that it cannot create additional upward growth? These are important aspects to consider when exploring the effectiveness of mewing. If mewing makes your face shorter and wider by creating an upswing, how can it fix people with short face syndrome? A Reddit user asked a similar question. He suffered from short face syndrome. It was fixed by lowering the maxilla, but isn't that a downward maxilla a bad thing? You can clearly see how his face got longer, but he seems to be more attractive now. Can somebody explain this to me? John Mew's response to this was to completely disregard the question. Initially, I failed to notice that it could have come from John Mew because it lacks scientific basis. He believes that his short face is a result of improper tongue posture, which seems completely unfounded. At this stage, it appears that he is entirely delusional, which may explain why his son was expelled from the British Orthodontic Society. It is a fact that many of Mike Mew's opinions regarding facial aesthetics lack validity. One such opinion is that individuals with a forward-grown face are conventionally attractive. However, Henry Cavill's narrow smile, which indicates a narrow palate, does not hinder his ideal facial development. It has been pointed out on the Reddit Orthotropics page that Mew's belief that a narrow palate causes long narrow faces is flawed. Doesn't Henry Cavill disprove a lot of the assumptions made on this sub? His jaw is massive and defined, yet his teeth are crooked. So surely not all crowding is the result of bad jaw development. Mike Mew's theory has been disproved by numerous examples, including Richard Ramirez, who had perfect facial development but crooked teeth, Jeremy Meeks, who has a recessed chin but is still considered attractive, and Luck Blue, who has a gummy smile but possesses an ideal facial structure. It is not just Henry who challenges this theory. Mike Mew's theory that the environment largely is responsible for facial development is wrong and unscientific on so many levels. Again, this is the reason he got expelled from the British Orthodontic Society. He literally uses Kyle Jenner as his example for his theory when it's clearly known she had so many procedures. Until further proof, orthotropic is just an unscientific theory. Your facial structure and development are determined solely by your genes, which cannot be altered. However, through surgery, it is possible to imitate the appearance of having favorable genes.
Even if you get a lot of surgery when you're rich, let's say you're ugly but you get rich and you get a lot of surgery and you mog, I mean, you're still genetically you're still subhuman because your baseline genetics are still trash. You are just concealing your inferior genes. It's even if you come inside a Stacy afterwards, you have fooled her. You have been dishonest. You have spread your genes wrongly. It's a perversion. These are the hard facts that nobody wants to swallow.
The transformations you witness online, characterized by changes in appearance, are primarily influenced by camera angles, lighting, and the natural process of puberty. It is important to recognize that the more extreme transformations showcased on the internet are not genuine. They are the outcome of surgical procedures. These individuals falsely claim that their altered appearance is solely due to MEWING, in order to promote their unscientific courses on facial enhancement.